Yep.
So what I'm going to share with you guys here is I'm going to share a sound clip of the phone call, one of the phone calls I made, one of the 25 phone calls that I made. And when I do, I really want to encourage everyone. Don't don't think to yourself, well, how dumb is this guy? I want you to stop that thought if you have it and think, would I fall for this? Could I see myself actually falling for this?
Hmm.
Okay, and then we'll talk about it after. But let me play it here. It's only a couple minutes long.
I love that. And another fact to think of, because I just learned over the weekend something and talking to a couple of chief security officers, that another thing that's happening now that's growing, that I'm sure you know about, but the hackers are now reaching out to employees in companies who have access
Yeah.
and saying, hello, everyone. Welcome to the Smarter Online Safety Podcast. I am your host, Jocelyn King, and I am so excited about this episode because when I first started this podcast, I sat down and thought, who are the top 5 people that I want to get on my podcast? And today's guest was one of those,
Well,
right near the top of the list. And so I am so thrilled to introduce Chris Hadnagy. He is the author of Social Engineering, The Art of Human Hacking and Unmasking the Social Engineer. He is a speaker, a teacher, a pen tester, which means penetration testing of companies and systems to see, find their vulnerabilities. And he is one of the most recognized experts in the field of social engineering and security. He is president and CEO of Social Engineer, and he has spent the last 2 decades in security and technology, specializing in understanding the ways in which these malicious attackers and hackers are able to exploit human weaknesses to obtain access to information and resources through manipulation and deceit. He's also a graduate of Dr. Paul Ekman's courses, and he works with the companies that you know the names of, helping them protect themselves and their customers, which we are all part of that community. And finally, he's launched a line of professional social engineering training and penetration testing services at socialengineer.com. So he helps these companies remain secure by educating them. And he himself is a podcaster. He has one of the internet's most successful security podcasts, the socialengineer.org podcast. And that's where he helps social engineering practices be shared with the cybersecurity experts that are helping to protect you and me and our data in companies, corporations, and government organizations. So, Chris, my goodness, I'm so pleased to have you on.
thank you. I'm very happy to be here and flattered with your being in your top five.
That's
Wow.
awesome. Well, we're going to get started because most people don't know what social engineering is. If you work in cybersecurity for a few years, everybody, in that community, you know it, but the average person, maybe doesn't even, some people listening have never heard of the term social engineering. Others have heard of it and they're like, what is it? So could you break it down for us?
Sure. So back in the day, the only definition that existed was the manipulation of someone to do something, right? When I started researching it, I wanted to change it because I found positive and negative sides to it. So I define it as any act that influences a person to take an action that may or may not be in their best interest,
Mm.
because there are positive sides. But when we're talking about the negative, that would include things like phishing emails, phishing phone calls, SMS phishing, and impersonation attacks. So that's what normally people would think of when they hear social engineering.
That's awesome. Now, you've brought a little gift for us, getting to hear something that you do on a daily basis. And I am so excited about this because sometimes when I talk to people, or even in the classes I teach of how to protect yourself, there's a certain point where people realize how vulnerable they are. And they think, I just want to throw out my computer and my phone and never get online again. And people like you and me are the ones to say, unfortunately, that makes you even more vulnerable because then you're not going to see what's going on. We have all of our lives are data points in other people's databases. And when those are hacked or compromised, all your information is getting leaked and sold on the dark web, whether you ever go on the internet again or not. And so I really am excited about this topic and what you're going to share so that people can understand how, while they're working, while they're sleeping, while they're shopping, working out at the gym, whatever they're doing, just living their lives,
Hmm.
what's going on behind the scenes of people trying to hack in. And we've talked a bit about phishing and things like that on the show, but I'm so excited for you to talk about how this is done. And do you want to cue this up a little bit since it's also
Yeah.
what the company does for a living?
Yeah. So the backstory is, I think, important. So we had this company that hired us to run a series of social engineering audits on them, and we started off with a phishing email. And the phishing email was something where it said, "Hey, we have 10 brand new iPhones that we're going to raffle off to the whole company, and we just need you to go to this website and fill out this form, and you'll be entered the raffle." And we made a website that looked just like their company's webpage. And it asked for their full name, their department, their phone number, their email, but then also their network credentials to make sure we got the right person. We sent it to 1,000 people, and we had 775 people fill it out. It was kind of amazing that we had that many. So we started to try to, use the credentials to get inside the company, and we realized that IT support did something really great. Somebody must have reported it, and they shut down our attack. But now we had all these phone numbers. So I said, what can we do to further this? And this is where what I'm going to show you comes in. We developed a little exe that was like malware that would give us access to the computer if someone were to click on it.
Right. So that's
And
an
we,
executable
an
file that
executable.
somebody is clicking on and downloading, and that's how you get malware on your system for people
Yep.
who, right. Mhm.
And this particular one was called a reverse shell. So that means that when you click it, your command prompt comes back to us.
Mm.
And what we did is we set up phone calls where we were calling the people that filled it out, and we said, "Hey, we're from IT support. We realize that you clicked on that phishing email, so you may have some malware on your computer. We want to clean it up, and we have a special exe that you can install that will clean your computer."
So you're
And our
actually using the failed first attempt
Yeah,
as your way in to get a successful second attempt. And this is what
yes,
hackers do, everybody. This,
every day, right? So, and think about it in the reality, like when, let's say when Experian got hacked, the first thing that a lot of these people did was send out phishing emails about from Experian saying,
Mhm.
click here to get your free stuff. And it was another way to get hacked. So they used those to further the attack. So let me
Hackers
just,
love chaos.
oh, they do.
Time
They
for them.
love it.
Yep.
So what I'm going to share with you guys here is I'm going to share a sound clip of the phone call, one of the phone calls I made, one of the 25 phone calls that I made. And when I do, I really want to encourage everyone. Don't don't think to yourself, well, how dumb is this guy? I want you to stop that thought if you have it and think, would I fall for this? Could I see myself actually falling for this?
Mhm.
Okay, and then we'll talk about it after. But let me play it here. It's only a couple minutes long.
iPhone, the iPhone
Yes.
app. You went.
Hang on, let
This
me
is Paul.
back up.
This is Paul over tech support. How you doing?
Good.
Um, we got that you filled out for that iPhone, the iPhone
Yes.
app. You went
Yep.
in and you did your password change.
Yes, I did.
Okay, excellent. Just wanted to tell you that was really good. That's the way it should have been handled.
Okay, yeah. As soon as we realized it, two of us jumped right on it.
Okay, so there was another guy on your team that also.
Yeah, I think it was JR.
JR. Okay, I'm just going to write down. I'll be talking to him later on. So. Just to follow up, what we're doing is, are you on the VPN right now? You're on your work machine?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to give you an internal address. It's an FTP site that we set up for the employees. You can go there. You can see there's one file there that you'll be able to download, and it will just clean up any residual mess from that website that we used for the audit.
Okay.
So if you're at your machine, just open
Okay.
up a browser, and I'll give you the address.
Oh, you mean like go on like I'm going to send an email? I'm not real.
Internet Explorer, you can open up that.
Okay, yep. I got the, okay.
And then up on the top line, the address, type in FTP.
STP?
Yep, F as in Frank, T
Okay.
as in Tom, and then P as in Paul, and then a colon, and then 2 slashes, and these are the slashes that are by your question mark, the same button as your question mark.
Gotcha. STP? Okay.
And then the word is update, dash, and the dash is like the minus sign,
Gotcha.
.com.
Okay.
And when you go there, it should open up, it should say index of, and it should have one file. There's a file called PC Checker.
Okay, it's here. Okay, click on that.
Yeah, click on that,
Okay.
and it should download.
Okay, it
Or I
says
should ask you if you want to run or save. Yet click run,
okay.
and if everything goes good, you should get no alerts. You know, if you have a residual problem from that site, then you'll get a message. But if nothing happens and everything's clean and good and we're done.
Okay, I just got a second thing. It said the publisher could not be verified. Are you sure you want to run this software?
Yeah, click OK.
Run again? Okay. Okay, now it took me back to the original screen.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
that's good. So if you got no error message, then you're good to go. So you're clean.
Okay, well, thanks for the help.
Not a problem. We'll talk to you later.
Yeah,
Bye.
sorry about clicking on that.
It's okay. Thanks for thinking about it afterward, though.
Okay, man. All right, thanks.
Bye.
And that is how it's done. And you know, it's brilliant. And I'm glad you queued it up for us to all think about that, because remember, every time most of the time when these hacks are coming, it comes from somebody who's in a position of authority over you. So think you're an employee, and also you realize you did something you shouldn't have done. So if you're working at a job and you're thinking, uh-oh, I shouldn't have clicked on that, you're trying to help clean it up and be as cooperative as possible. This is why hackers impersonate that they're from law enforcement or the FBI and stuff, because anything that's in a position of authority to you, you're actually feeling a little more guilty and therefore less suspicious in a sense. Would you agree with that?
I would 100%. And especially like you said, that they already fell for a phishing email.
Right.
So now these people are scared, right? And now that I want to fix it. And now here I am, I'm coming and saying, I'm here to fix it.
Right.
So
their fight or flight is already activated of like, oh, I don't want to get fired over this, or, you know, whatever they're feeling, or they're feeling, you know, like you're right, this person's not stupid. And by the way, I would just want to repeat this. I say it a lot, but there is no correlation between IQ and brain intelligence and vulnerability to phishing. Some of the smartest people I've ever met are victims of cybercrime. There's no correlation, everybody. So if something
100%.
happens, do not take it as anything personal about your smarts. That's why we're here to be smarter with our online safety.
Yes.
So tell us, so what are tips that you have? What are a couple tips that people could take away to do this, especially if they think it's their employer or, you know, their IT department who they really don't want to, you know, piss off and stuff, or a law enforcement or something. What are tips that people could take when their heart starts palpitating? They're like, oh, I'm on the phone with somebody like this. And let's face it, they're in fight or flight mode. And I've studied neuroscience, and that means you're not bringing all of your best thinking. You're bringing your reactive run or fight. So what can they do?
There's a couple things. So first of all, I always instruct people that if you're on a phone call or reading an email or you're in person with someone and you start to feel motivated by strong emotion, right? That's your motivator. That is a great time to sit back and go, hang on, I may be getting hacked. Because that is what hackers will use all the time, which is strong emotion. Knowing that critical thought doesn't work as well when you're feeling strong emotion. So I always tell people, if that's what you're feeling, step one, take a moment to step back and think, is this real? Now, if you can stop yourself just for a second, now the next step is verify. How do you verify? So let's just think, that guy on the phone, how did he verify? Well, you know, IT sent out an email saying that they stopped the phish. They didn't say there was going to be a call about anything. Let me just quickly shoot an email out to IT. If he had done that, I would have hung up, knowing I would have got burned, right? So having some of that critical thought by saying, this doesn't sound real, I'm going to ask a question real quick, and then being able to move past that is a quick way to get people, the hackers, to. I was just telling a story about Ferrari. Beautiful job done. This guy called deep faking as the president of Ferrari, the CEO. And he got the CFO on the phone and he said, hey, we're making an investment in this other company. I need you to transfer, and it was a large sum of money, over to this other account. And the CFO in his head is saying, well, this is something normal, but he didn't tell me about it. So this is odd. So he said to him, sir, when you were in my office yesterday, you recommended a book for me to read. What book did you ask me to read?
Oh, that's brilliant.
And the guy hung up.
Hung up. Oh,
Right. So anytime you can take the attacker, it's wonderful. Right. That's why they're the best, right? And I say, anytime you could introduce critical thought, you're going to stop the attacker because they're banking on you not thinking. So you could do that. You can win against these guys.
Right. I love that. Now, if they're impersonating, and you used the word manipulation earlier. So a lot of times the people listening to this, because most of them are not. So we have some cybersecurity experts who listen to this too, thank goodness. But we have a lot of cybersecurity experts referring their lay people, friends, and family over here to get the
Hmm.
how-tos. And so if you're not if you're not aware of whether you're being hacked or not, I love the idea you could ask, could this possibly, could this be
Yes.
somebody trying to manipulate me? Because I think everybody, whether you can identify hacking or not, your spidey
Yeah.
sense can help you think, is it possible? Is it even a little possible that I could be being manipulated? And if the
You
answer to
know,
that question is yes, then you need to find a way to verify, like Chris is saying. I love
and I
that.
tell people that all the time, even like with your grandparents or your parents. I tell them, Mom, Dad, the IRS is never going to send a policeman to your house for unpaid taxes.
Right.
Like, have you ever, in your, however old your parents are, in your 68 years of life on this earth, have you ever received a phone call from the IRS?
Right.
The answer is no. They send certified mail when they want you to pay.
Right.
So you could give them that heads up and say, okay, now you have this information. So if somebody calls grandma saying, I'm taking away your Medicare because you didn't pay your taxes, nope, I know this is fake. Chris told me it's fake. Shut it down. So
Yeah.
arm your family and friends with that knowledge, and you can make them really strong.
I love that. Now, one thing, is it possible for like I worked inside a number of companies in Silicon Valley. And by the way, I was at one when the FBI came calling to say we had been hacked 6 months before and critical IP had been
Yeah.
taken by a foreign national, organization.
Yep.
And and so because of my role in the company, I was privy to what had happened, and it was a social engineering. It was an
Mm.
email sent to somebody from a superior, not a direct boss, but a skip level, so like two people above them. So of course they want to, they don't want to get in trouble with their boss, so they're
Yeah.
going to do
Yeah.
what their boss's boss wants. And the name was correct on the email, but the actual email address was not. It was a
Yeah.
Yahoo email address or a Gmail, whatever it was. So those are the little tips. But
Yep.
again, people getting secure. So even then, you could reply with a question, say, yeah, I'm happy to help you, but before I do this, I need to I, to ensure I'm protecting the company, I need to verify this. So you can always, even with the IT guy, you could say, well, great, since you're in IT, you'll appreciate that I'm going to, trust but verify before I take any action that might harm the company. And if you say that and they really are an IT guy, they're going to appreciate you.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be a hero. And if they're not and
Yeah.
they hang up on you, then you get to call your real IT department and
Yeah.
you got to be a hero, right?
Yep. And I always tell people, if you get like that email, that thing, like they use the real name, but then Yahoo, if your spidey senses are tingling, I would even reply to that right away. I would first call the IT department, and say, hey, I got an email from the boss, but from his Yahoo account, asking me to do X, Y, Z. What do you
Right,
think I should do? And now they're probably going to tell you, send that email to me. They're going to realize it's a fish, and now
right,
you haven't given the scammer anything,
right,
not even a reply, right?
right.
So
And
I
you've won
always,
gold stars with your employer.
yes,
So,
yep,
so always taking a beat is
yeah,
better, especially, let's just say on the off chance. And by the way, it is extremely rare. The off chance it really is from the CEO or somebody or somebody. The fact that you're saying, I just want to make sure I'm protecting the company.
mm-hmm,
By doing that, you're really, you're being a star employee. So
yeah,
I just say that so that people can feel self-empowered to do
mm-hmm.
what they need to do. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
and if he or she were to get mad at that, you would just say, "Sir, ma'am, the only reason I did that is because so many scams, and I didn't want to be the person that lost your money."
Right.
Right? So
You could
if
say,
somebody
I
gets,
was listening to the Smarter Online Safety
yeah, there you are.
podcast. This leading expert was on talking about how it's done, and this sounded a little bit like that. So I wanted
Yep,
to make sure I wasn't putting the company at risk.
I
They can
love
never
it.
fault you for that.
I love it.
That is awesome. Okay, so they should verify some way. And I love the way that if it's supposedly somebody, can you talk a little bit about the deep fakes? Because people are aware of like what an SMS
Yeah,
text is and a email. Talk about what the deep fakes are. So somebody's talking to the CFO. So let's talk about how deep fakes are, because we're talking about voice impersonation and things like
yeah,
that now. Let's talk about,
yeah.
tell them about that.
So AI has advanced to such a place now that cloning people's faces, cloning people's voices, cloning both at the same time and wearing like a digital skin, what they call, where I can be you on a call. These things are now become so easy to do that there's tools out there that are really, I mean, there's one out there for voice cloning. It's $4.99 a month, $4.99 a month, right? So you're not talking about supercomputers and having to spend millions of dollars to do this. Now the average person can do this. I mean, just at the end of last year, there during the presidential races, somebody had deepfaked President Biden's voice, and then made calls to people. I think it was in New Hampshire, asking for donations, and they were able to raise several $1,000s in donations before it was stopped,
Mhm.
because people heard this, went to the URL, or sent money because they wanted to support that candidate. So these things have become so prevalent nowadays that people. The next question everyone asks, well, then how do I know? Honestly, the only answer right now, because there's no tool that can tell you that, is if you can't verify that what is being said on the phone is true, then take no action.
Mhm.
That is the only thing I can tell you, because right now there is nothing that can indicate that it's a deep fake or not.
Well, and hopefully if it's somebody, well, part of the time you're going to have a real phone number for somebody.
Yes.
Certainly a family member or or you're going to have a way to get a hold of them. So
Hmm.
you recommend they say, I'll be happy to help you. I need to call you right back. And then you hang up on them and
That's what I would do,
call a
right?
real number. And then if you don't
And
have a real number, what are the cautions? Because some of this happens through Facebook
yeah,
and stuff.
yeah,
Those are easily hacked.
easily faked. Yeah.
So
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 let's say it
you
was
don't
that
want
Biden phone
a
call.
messenger, right? You don't want to do a Facebook
Yeah.
message
No,
because the
no, no.
hacker could be in there. Yeah. So what do
Yeah,
you
100%.
do? Mhm.
So let's use that Biden phone call as an example. Let's say you heard it. Now I want to donate to his campaign.
Mhm.
Well, you don't do it over a phone call. You go to whatever his official site was, right?
Right.
And you donate there.
Right.
If it's Facebook Messenger and it's like a romance scam or one of those other type of scams, that are coming for you,
Mhm.
honestly, you can't trust anything on social media. So
Mhm.
if you don't have a real number or a real email address for that person who is now pinging you, you can't trust that it's actually real. Now,
Right.
does that mean run away from Facebook? No, but here's where the scam starts. They start building a relationship with you, then they ask for money. They ask for
Mhm.
some help. When that happens, if you have not yet verified this person's real with an actual like video call, under maybe some picture, things like that, you haven't. I wouldn't do anything. I would take no action.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that. I think we have to start thinking of social media as social engineering media and
Yes.
just think of it that way, everybody, and treat everything. And you know what? And there's that old saying, trust but verify.
Yep.
And from a zero trust perspective, it's like,
Yeah.
uh, be suspicious and verify. I would say, like,
You
always
have
don't
to.
ever trust it. I mean, technically, because you could be taken. Think about what Chris is saying. A CFO at Ferrari, who obviously is a highly credentialed individual with good sense, um, is thinking this is really, it sounds like the
Mm-hmm.
CEO for somebody who's been working together for gosh knows how long. So if that can happen, you could have it. So maybe just you're kind of keeping a lookout for this. And when you know that such a high percentage of interactions on social media, email, text, and now phone calls are going to be this, you're almost looking for, you're looking to spot the one that's targeting you. And I think
Yeah.
that way you can be a much smarter and safer online consumer. Is that true?
It is. And let's say you fall for something. Let's
Hmm.
say you do it, right? Everyone's, like you said before, we're human, we're fallible. Don't brush it under the rug because you're embarrassed. Get help, right?
Mm,
If you fell for a romance scam or something, get help. If you're at work and you click the link and afterwards you're thinking, "Oh no, I'm not sure if I should have done that." Call IT, right?
right,
You don't want to be the person that sees your whole company get hacked because you didn't report it properly. So
right.
reporting
So
is essential.
it's better to reach out and say, I may have just made a mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then ask for
Now,
help. Yeah.
I'm hoping that companies don't have punitive results for that. I'm banking on that. I know some people may be like, if I report it, I'm going to get fired. Well, I hope that's not the case. I know there's companies out there that do it, which will make it much more difficult for people to report. So if you're a company owner listening to this, and if that's your company's policy, think about this.
that change.
If you're telling me that I'm going to get fired for reporting this, you are creating an insider threat, right?
Mm,
You're making me an insider threat because I'm going to be thinking, well, I just did something bad, but I'm not reporting myself 'cause I'm not losing my job, and I'm going to
right.
try to delete any evidence of it.
Right.
So think about, if you want your company to be strong and a unit that's protecting the mission, then make sure that they know that reporting is actually glorified and it's not punished.
I love that. And another fact to think of, because I just learned over the weekend something and talking to a couple of chief security officers, that another thing that's happening now that's growing, and I'm sure you know about, but the hackers are now reaching out to employees in companies who have access
Yeah.
and saying, if you get us access, you'll get
Yep.
60% of the take.
Yep.
The hackers will take, so if they get $1 million out of your company, they're going to give you 600,000 and they're only going to take 400,000. So think about it. If you click on something, which is, by the way, how you would, if you agreed to be part of this kind of scheme, that's what you
Mm-hmm.
would do. If you don't say, I may have just made a mistake, you're going to be suspicious. You're going to be a suspect for being collaborative in a scheme. So the sooner you reach out, the better. So, and again, I have a lot of corporate listeners and stuff. So, please look into your current
Yeah.
policies, because they might be old IT policies that were done
Mm-hmm.
before social engineering was as successful and prevalent as it is. And if you have something punitive, take Chris's advice and revise it.
Yeah.
I love that.
It
And
really helps.
so, and speaking of that, so for people who want to learn more, have companies they need to protect, or want to learn more about your social engineering training, what's the best way for people to reach you?
Our website is social-engineer.com. So that's the best place. And my LinkedIn, I'm very active on there. And I promise I will communicate with you as long as you don't try to sell me something in the first 5 seconds of connecting.
Or
I
five
hate,
minutes, right?
yeah, yeah, right. I hate when people do that, but I'm very active on LinkedIn. So that's a really great platform. And then the website, you can get all the information about we have a conference coming up, the Human Behavior Conference in November. We got some trainings coming up throughout the year, and of course, our services are all there.
That is fantastic. Thank you so much, Chris. You can see, everybody, why Chris was in my top five. And if
Thank you.
you found this helpful and you're liking this podcast and these types of guests and tips, please do us a favor. Please subscribe, give us a review, and share it any way you can, because that'll help us grow and reach more people and help more people stay safe and get smarter about their online safety. So thank you so much, and great having you on, Chris. And we're definitely going to have you back. Thank you for all that you do. All right, everybody, stay safe out there.